Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here for another Monday. Ain't no car around, car talk. I know I owe y'all a car talk on Mondays for this live chat, but shoot, it's rainy and foggy. And you know us California people don't drive well in rain and fog. Plus, I'm still cooking my twist. I just was washing my hair and conditioning. I got these twists in, and they're still a little wet, so they still cooking. It's like baking a cake, y'all. They still cooking. They still wet, and they need to dry up a little bit more before I take them out. But that don't mean I don't want to come here and talk to y'all. It doesn't mean that I don't want to come here and talk to y'all at all. And I started thinking, what we gonna talk about? What are we gonna talk about? And typically I like to talk about like maybe if OWN drops an exclusive clip, and then we could talk about that. But this week we had Chaz and Dominique down in the comment section a lot, commenting on a lot of things y'all wrote. A couple of things I commented on what I wrote. And I said, you know what? Maybe I ought to circle on back. Maybe I ought to backtrack a little bit and talk about some of the things I said in my last video, if y'all didn't watch it, that got Chaz commenting and also got Dominique commenting on some of the things y'all talked about. Because we're going to talk about the comment I made about Chaz. Is he on the road to becoming a cat daddy? And I only said it, y'all, because they're always trying to tell women that women not getting married, y'all going, we're going to be on the road to becoming a spinster and all this other kind of stuff. So what's the opposite of men? I said, he on the road to becoming a cat daddy. And the next step after cat daddy is sugar daddy. I'm telling you, on the road. He's on the road. So if people can sound an alarm for women, telling women about, getting a partner in life or whatever the case may be, then I can sound an alarm for Chaz that he's got the makings of a cat daddy. He does, or a sugar daddy. It don't mean that he can't change his course. I'm not saying that's where he's going to land. I'm just saying, based on what I've seen in life, and like I tell you, everybody's perspective comes from, their own life, what they've seen. And only the stuff I'm saying, I'm not really trying to say it to be mean to Chaz, y'all. I'm really not. I'm just saying, at my age, I've seen a lot of men like Chaz who end up being a cat daddies and sugar daddies. And it don't mean that they're not nice men. It's just kind of where they end up. So I'm going to tell you how I got there. And it don't mean Chaz is going to be that person. So Chaz, let me get mad at you. But I can sound the alarm. I'm up here calling myself an auntie for the ladies. And I'm not old enough to be a Chaz's auntie. But I could be his big sister. That's what I could be. I could be his big sister. I guess I could be his auntie. I don't know how many... I guess you could. I don't know. Mathematically, could I? But I don't know. I think I might be more like a big sister, kind of like who's got lots of years in between. Like, mama had a baby and then she waited a long time and then she had another baby. That would be me, the big sister to Chaz. But we're going to talk about some of these comments. But first, let's talk about Dominique. Dominique got mad because I called him boring. He didn't get mad, but he commented on it. He said he is boring. Where did he say that at? I was reading something about him, and he said, oh, yeah, I am boring. Oh, he said he is boring. I have to find that clip and put it up. He said he is boring. But another situation where Dominique was dropping down the comments was he wanted to make sure everybody, all you guys knew that, the ladies were nice. The ladies were nice. They're nice and they're cool, but they weren't for him. And one of the things that Dominique pointed out was that he says he knows how to pursue. He said, first of all, when everybody's out here trying to say that he doesn't know how to pursue, he absolutely says he knows how to pursue. And he says, I did not pursue. Let me try to read it. Let me try to actually read it and stop sitting up here trying to act like I know what I'm saying. He said he does know how to pursue, but I didn't want to pursue women that I wouldn't actually date. And the women were cool, but most of them were better for someone else, not me, and that's okay. And he went on to further explain, I guess when they were talking about the work friend. Remember he was sitting with Vanessa, and he was kind of like thrown off guard with the whole Vanessa friend thing. He says, as far as the work friend, we've dated 5 years after she left his mom's job, and it didn't end badly at all. Oh, you mean to tell me it didn't end badly? You mean to tell me, Dominique, you was able to break up with somebody and not end badly? That's what I'm saying. People act like it's weird not to have broken up with someone and not, and not end badly. I don't know. It is a red flag. Some people have been talking about that too in the comments. Is it a red flag if all your relationships have gotten so contentious that you couldn't even pick up the phone and call somebody that you used to date, that you have no one in your past, no one. I'm not saying everybody got to be friends with their exes, because no one really does that much either. But when your relationship ends so badly that everybody's on block, everybody, sure, maybe you have 1 or 2 exes you might have blocked, who knows? But everybody's on block. You can't call no one, none of your exes. That's a red flag. I'm doubling down on it. I am doubling down on that. But he was saying it didn't end badly at all. I just mentioned that because my mom introduced us, similar to Vanessa and her friend. I'm still great friends with her, and she's still close with my mom. But good read, though. That was Janet Kulabali. I might have messed up your name, Janet. Sorry, Janet. But what Janet wrote was enough to make Dominique answer down in the comments and clear that up. So that was good. And another thing that Dominique really started getting the comments on was that it was this comment by Trisha Albert. And she said, although I was surprised and wanted LaRon to go home, but Dominique was proactively engaging with the women. I believe this was a call from production to let Dominique go before LaRon. Also noticing Dominique's actions when he was shown, he really didn't make connections to any of the women. So Dominique dropped down the comments, and I put he ain't changing either. And he said he ain't changing. I failed to mention on my last video, but here we go with another person at the end of the process who said they ain't changing. That was Dominique. Dominique went home again, once again, saying he ain't changing. Listen, people, listen. I don't care what you do in life. Everybody can learn something from every situation. Every situation. And so just admitting that there may be a few things you might do wrong, it doesn't mean it ain't overall a good experience. I mean, it's like baking a cake or whatever you want to do. You're like, oh, next time I'm going to put maybe just 1 extra egg in it, or maybe I'm going to do this. It doesn't mean that whatever you did wasn't good, but it's healthy to look back on what you did and want to improve upon things, right? Make it a masterpiece. What's wrong with taking a situation and saying, hey, yeah, I may not change a lot of things, but there are 1 or 2 things I would change if I had a chance. That's how you grow. How can you grow if you are so committed to always doing everything the exact same way? The exact same way. I don't like it when people come on Ready to Love. They get eliminated when you have swaths of people, either 6, 7, 8 women saying the same thing about you, or 6, 7, 8 men saying the same thing about you, and then the person gets kicked off, and the person be like, well, I ain't changing nothing, I'm gonna do the same exact thing. First of all, you're on Ready to Love because whatever you've been doing out in the world, it hasn't gotten you to the point where you want to be. I'm not even saying it's not to the point where I want you to be. It's where you want to be, because obviously you on the show. So then you come on the show, you get this feedback. You get feedback from the castmates. You get feedback from the audience, which is us. And then all of a sudden, people go on these exit interviews and they be talking about, I ain't doing nothing different. So you just going to ignore all the public comments. That's like companies sending out surveys saying, we want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what you think. And then when they get all the surveys back, they be talking about, well, we ain't changing nothing. Then why send the survey? I don't know. I just don't like people never to see any opportunity for growth. Any opportunity. Always look for opportunity to growth. It's not a bad thing, y'all. It's a good thing. I don't know why so many people run away from improvement. I don't know. Is it because they think that means they're not perfect? Well, ain't nobody perfect. We all works in progress. It's just, I don't know. But what else was Dominic talking about down in the chat? He was saying, I guess somebody was mentioning something about Rashina is out of his league, but he was like, Patrice and Rashina out of my class is an interesting take. They are both great women, though. And then later on, he says he would just say that they're in different leagues, not that they're out of their league. Phrasing. I guess it's phrasing. I'll go with that. But I had written that he ain't changing, though. And then Dominique wrote to me and said, yeah, I think we should apply pressure when we feel we're amongst someone who feels special. Telling women what they want to hear when I have no mention or following up with action isn't how I get down. And I know that about Dominique. In fact, I was giving Dominique credit for that. Because you all remember my last video, I was talking about talk is cheap. Men who tell women things, but they have no intention of following up on it or don't even mean it. And the one thing I said what actually got Dominique, kind of kicked off was because I think he wasn't willing to do that to women. He wasn't willing to tell women things that he knew he didn't want to follow up on, right? He was like, I ain't saying it. And if that gets me kicked off, that gets me kicked off. He's saying he knows how to apply pressure when he's amongst someone that he feels special. I don't know. I ain't never seen it, right? Because we didn't see him apply none on here, so I don't know if he knows how to do it. And like I said, like I said with the ladies, a practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. And I'm not saying that he should have done a full-on fake hardcore press, full court press on any women. But I wonder if Dominique knows how to apply any pressure, because he's really cool. He's really laid back. He's a serious gentleman. I could tell that. He's a deep thinker. I could tell that. I could tell that he's smart. I could tell that he's more analytical than he is emotional, right? I could tell all that. And when I was saying that Dominique is boring, I didn't even mean that in no negative way. I just said he's not all for that rah-rah. He's not. I could tell Dominique's not all for that rah-rah. Like he said, he wants 2 to 10 kids. So he's not really for being out in the street, because with 2 to 10 kids, you ain't going to be in those streets. You're going to be at home playing Scrabble, Candyland, and Monopoly. That's what you're going to be doing when you got 10 kids. And Kigo98 was talking about she felt bad for Vanessa when she was behaving like a jealous girlfriend, and it was bad. But then Kigo98 also got a response from Dominique, and he says, and she has said, as far as Dominique, I don't think he was putting in work off camera. And I remember Vanessa telling him to up his game the last episode. He was so hurt and disappointed to leave the show, though. Not him saying that what he is going to do, what he has been doing. That's the same thing I said, Kigo. Not him going to do what he has been doing after getting the critics, or the critiques, I think was what she meant, not getting the critiques from Maya. And Dominique said, my ego was hurt for about an hour. Okay, Dominique. And he went home and he went to bed and he woke up happy. I woke up like this. I woke up happy, and I was just being transparent in the moment. Well, I hope you went back and thought a little bit more, Dominique, because I do think you're a thinking man. And I do think you're a little bit more contemplative than maybe that off-the-cuff comment. And there may be some truth in a little bit of what a lot of these women are saying, because even a woman who you're interested in may not think you're pursuing or showing enough interest. It could be something with you, Dominique. So just don't keep brushing shit off. Take a look at it. Give it more of a moment or a thought. Don't just dismiss people's comments so fast. You can think about it, contemplate about it, come back later and say, I thought about it and no, I'm good. I'm good. But when you dismiss something so fast without thinking about it, that just tells me that's more like pride and ego talking, because you couldn't have thought about it that fast. You just couldn't have thought about it that fast. I don't think so. But let me go ahead and get to Chaz, because he was down in the comments too, and he said to me, "Are you sure I was never engaged, never married? Are you sure? Because you're wrong." Well, then just tell us, Chaz. What's the big deal? This ain't part of your NDA. You could tell us if you were married. Because what I remember from Chaz is I absolutely remember that unfortunately he had a child that he lost. That I remember that the child was about 6 months old and it was a tragic loss in his life. I don't remember Chaz, and Chaz can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm all available for correction. This show ain't nothing but about my opinion. I ain't CNN. I don't be reporting facts. But I'm here if I say something wrong and the person wants to come clear it up, clear it up. He says, "Are you sure I was never engaged, never married? Are you sure?" No, I'm not sure. I'm just going off of what was shown on the TV. But you can clear it up. And so, everybody was chiming in saying, well, if I'm wrong, why can't you clear it up? Why can't you say you were engaged or you were married? I don't know. All I remember you telling me or telling us was that you had a baby. That didn't mean that you was married, and that doesn't mean that you was engaged. So, I'm all for correction. I ain't somebody that runs around saying, no, that's what you told me. And he didn't clear it up. So once again, here is Chaz being evasive. What for? What is the point of being evasive over being engaged or married or never married? What's the big deal? Why can't you just say I was married, or I'm not, or I got divorced, or I was engaged but we didn't get married? I don't know. Maybe he was engaged to the lady that had his baby at the time. Maybe he was married to her. I have no idea. Clear it up, Chaz. Just tell us, what's the big deal? Why do you need to be so evasive? Is this part of this slick cat daddy personality that you have, where you just can't be upfront and direct? And what's going on? Is it a big secret? So then he also chimed in and on Jay Marquez's comment, said, "How is Chaz an F-boy, but Alonzo is not? Chaz is the only quality brother on the darn show. So which is why he has his pick of the litter." And Chaz chimed in and said, "I thank you for this. I also have not decided on who I ultimately want to continue with in this process. And as a single eligible black man, I explored all my connections, just as the ladies did." I believe that's what he meant to say, including Vanessa telling Alonzo to pursue her if he is interested. It's a double standard. So I can't speak for Jay Marquez, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about why I said what I said. As Nene Link said, I said what I said. And I'm not really talking about no double standard about why I called Chaz a F-boy on his way to be a cat daddy and later on being a sugar daddy. I don't consider him in the same category as he's saying here, a double standard with Vanessa, because Vanessa went around and was telling Dominique, Alonzo, whoever else she was telling, go, you can come ahead and pursue me. Because you guys got to remember why I started saying that Chaz is I'll say potential. I'm not going to say he is one, but I'm going to say a potential F-boy on his way to being a cat daddy in another 5 years. And then 5 years after that, he gonna be a sugar daddy. And like I always say in my videos, comments from people, when I was talking about Mika and what Mika says and how she viewed, how she viewed Jonathan and how they viewed Will when he was talking about sleeping on the pallet and whatever. Same thing with me. My viewpoint is also coming from my own reference point. And since I'm older and I got a lot of friends out here in the world, and I got friends in my friend circles that are the Chazes of the world, and a lot of them ended up being cat daddies and sugar daddies. I'ma say it. I may not tell them to their face because I don't want to offend them, but that's what they are. That's how I view them. And that's how a lot of women in their age category view them. And I'm going to tell you why I got to that point where I'm sitting here saying that if Chaz is not careful as a potential big sister, he could be on the road to being a cat daddy and eventually a sugar daddy. And I'm going to go through my little storytelling. Okay, let me tell you how it starts. Cat daddies and sugar daddies. This is my story. This is my story, people. This is just my story. It ain't facts. It ain't figures. It's my story. Cat daddies and sugar daddies, typically, a lot of them have started in one or two places when they were young. And when I say young, I mean in their 20s. They started in their 20s. There was two roles to being a cat daddy and a sugar daddy. The first role for the person in their 20s was the guy who was the F-boy and who never wanted to settle down. He was a player in the street. He always wanted to have multiple women, okay? He was good looking. You guys remember Lizelle? I can't remember if Lizelle had never gotten married. Lizelle is one. Remember Lizelle from Make a Move, cat daddy, sugar daddy, right? He's a cat daddy now, and eventually he's going to be a sugar daddy, okay? Because eventually he's going to really have to start paying for it. Right now, remember Lizelle had all them muscles. He's wearing them muscle t-shirts and everything. And he be talking about how he look younger. Same thing Chaz, talking about how they look younger and they can still pull younger women. Yeah, they 47, 48. And they talk about how they can still pull women in their 30s, right? 15 years younger. So Chaz is 47. He probably could pull a woman around 32. So a lot of these men, when they were younger, and this is my story, like I keep saying, when they was younger, you know, they was good looking, they was smart, they had heads on their shoulders, they presented well, you know, they might have been educated, they were doing well in their careers, and they had access to a lot of different women, and they just never picked a woman. They never chose a woman. You know, there was always something wrong with the woman. She was never good enough for them. You know, so what they just did was they just hopped from woman to woman out there in the street, and went out with various different women. This is in their 20s. And then as they get older, they just keep going with that. They never find a woman that's good enough. They never find a woman that they're willing to propose to. All these thousands of women out here in the world, they be coming up against a career women. They come up against women who may just want to be a stay-at-home mom. They've encountered various different women, but the thousands of women they've come across, none of these women are good enough, so they never settle on one of them at all. Remember I had that video, y'all, and I was talking about get off the wrong road. He on the road to being a cat daddy. He on the road to being a cat daddy or a sugar daddy. And I'm gonna say how I see it, okay, based on my little old limited experience. Like I said, it's my limited experience, it's my perspective, it's my YouTube channel, it's my opinion. It ain't no facts, it ain't no figures, I ain't got no proof, I can't read into the future, I'm not no psychic, none of that. But what I see with Chaz is I see Chaz right now that people get to this point two different ways. It's either the guy who never fell in love, okay, never fell in love with a woman, even in their 20s, 30s, 40s, because now he's in his late 40s. They never fell in love, never met a woman they wanted to meet, marry. They didn't want to be like a baby daddy, so they were real careful with their sperm. They protected themselves. They made sure they didn't birth no babies. They were real cautious out here in the world. They chose wisely certain women. They also chose women who didn't also want to have accidental pregnancies. They were real careful on what women they chose. And so then they end up in their late 40s, never married, no kids, never proposed, or whatever you want to say, and then they get to 47 years old, and now what happens is kids are almost really off the table because What happens is at 47, 50 years old, if they have children at 50, they're going to be darn near, what is that going to be, 68 by the time their kids are graduating from high school. So you mean to tell me at 68 years old, you're going to have children entering college? So you're going to be in retirement trying to play for college? College is like expensive. You done built up your retirement funds, plan for retirement, and you mean at 68 years old, you got to prepare for this big amount of money when you stopped earning a lot of money to start paying for college? It becomes financially too difficult, unless you end up being really, really well off where it doesn't make a difference, but it becomes a financial aspect to it for men like Chaz. There comes a point in time where he's not going to want to jeopardize his retirement in order to pay for a child that is very expensive. How much they say it costs to raise a child nowadays? $400,000 over the course of time, and I don't even think that includes college. Not if you may be going to a top university or some good university where tuition is high. I don't think it does. And so when you get to 50 years old and you're talking about just starting out having kids, and that means you're going to be 68, 70 years old, and you still going to be having bills like college to pay for kids, please. It becomes to a point where now you say, well, I missed my time. He's going to get to a point where he's going to say, I missed my time to have kids, because at this point in time, I don't want to spend the later part of my years, my golden years, paying for college and coming out my pocket for these big money, which means now he doesn't want to have kids. And a big incentive for men to want to get married is to have children. Sure, they want companions. Sure, they want love. But a big reason for men is to have children. And once that is removed from the table to have children, it makes it even more difficult for that man to want to get married. That doesn't mean he doesn't want a companion. That doesn't mean that he doesn't want a girlfriend. Okay? But then he starts thinking also about, well, what if the marriage doesn't work? What if the woman takes all this money I saved? He's now in his 50s. He saved up a lot of money in his 401k. He's risen up in his career. He got a lot to lose. He's got assets. What if the marriage to that woman doesn't work? Does he really want to be getting divorced in his 60s and having that woman take half his wealth or half his money? He spent all this time building up this wealth. Does he want to take the risk that he will marry a woman, it doesn't work, and then that woman take the money from him that he spent his whole life saving or building? No, they end up not wanting to take the risk. And that's why I said what ends up happening is it's harder for them to get to the altar. They may get there, but it's really, really, really hard. And then like Chaz said, I look good. I don't look my age. So he's able to go out here in these streets. He's able to pull a woman that's like 35 years old, 32, 5 years old, because she's young. She looks good. He looks younger than what he is. But if that woman wants to have children, he don't want to give her children. So eventually that woman is around for a couple of years, wastes time with him, because she's still young enough that she wants kids, and he wastes her time. He ends up being a 47-year-old man. He's got money. He's able to take her out, show her nice things, do things. He's a lot older than these other women, other men that are in their 30s. So he can outdo them with a charm. He knows how to open car doors. He's learned all this stuff because he's got 15 years on the men in her age brain, in her age range. That's why Mika's over here looking at him. That's why these younger women already love her looking at Chaz, because they go, ooh, Chaz. But he's got 15 years on these men. He's got 15 years on LaRon. He should be doing things a lot better than LaRon, right? He should be doing things a lot better than Alonso. So he looks good, but he's 15 years older. That's like having a child in the 6th grade and somebody from the 10th grade comes back to 6th grade and you talk about, ooh, he's so smart. Well, he should be smarter. He's in the 10th damn grade. But he don't want to give her no baby, maybe which is what she wants. He's tentative on wanting to get married. All those things. So what happens to Chaz? In the beginning at 47, like I said, he's pulling women 35. He really don't want no women with kids. He don't. Because he don't want to be dealing with no woman's children. That's why I knew from the beginning he wasn't going to be getting with no Vanessa. Because he really does not want to be no stepdaddy. If he wanted children, he would have had them long time ago. He would have had them. he would have had them. You think he wants to step in now and be the stepfather of Vanessa's children? I think Vanessa's kids are by two different daddies. He's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. So right now he's 47. He can still find women in their 30s that don't have children. So he can date them. But in another 5 years, he's not going to have access to women in their 30s because he's now going to be 52, 53. He's going to have to bump up to women in their 40s. And women in their 40s, a lot of them going to have children as well. And those women and those kids may still be young, and then he's going to have even more problems because he's not going to want to date any woman with children. He's going to keep trying to date younger. He's going to keep trying to date younger women with no kids, and that's what's going to push him into the sugar daddy. Because once you start getting 20 years on a woman, you're going to pay for that woman. Once you start trying to date a woman who's 20 years younger than you 52, and you want to date a woman 20 years younger than you, just like Dr. G over there on Married to Medicine dating Sweet Tea, absolutely you're going to have to pay for that woman to some level. She's giving you her best years, 20 years, and you old now. You 52 years old. You giving her your last year. She giving you your young years, and you think you ain't gonna have to pay? You gonna have to pay, sugar daddy. You're gonna have to pay. So then he gonna be trying to talk about how he want to date women with older kids. He goes, I date women with kids, but I want their kids to be grown and out the house, 18 years old. So by then, if you want your kids to be 18 years old, you're gonna have to start bumping up to women in their late 40s. That's what's gonna happen when he starts getting older and when he starts getting past his 50s or whatever. I see it. So they just turn from these people who never want to get married. They turn into a cat daddies, and then later they turn into sugar daddies, and they be all alone out here in the world, old men at the club, still don't want to settle down, scared to settle down. They afraid women going to take their money, blah, 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 blah. I see it in the making, Chaz, but you can stop it, Chaz. You can get off this wrong road you're on, and you can close the deal. You 47, you can close a deal with a woman and stop being so scared. You really could, because the other path where when these men get to this age of being cat daddies and sugar daddies is not because they were F-boys, not because they wanted to run the streets, but they were men who got hurt very early on in their dating life. A lot of times women think they're the only ones get hurt in relationships. But they're not. A lot of men who are now cat daddies and sugar daddies, if you really, really talk to them, they'll talk about a woman who really hurt their heart in their 20s and they never recovered. It hurt them to their cores. And maybe this is where it comes from with Chaz. He lost a child. I don't know how old he was. But a lot of people, a lot of men who are later on become cat daddies and sugar daddies, they fell deeply in love with a woman, deeply, in their 20s. And the relationship went so bad, some kind of way, and hurt them so deeply that they end up shutting themselves off to love. They never wanted to experience that hurt and pain again, and they shut themselves off. Okay? But in the end, they end up being in the same position as the men that were F-boys and end up being cat daddies and shit. They end up in the same place. Now, the reason they got there, maybe one was trying to be whole in the street and another one wasn't really trying to be, but that's what it turned out to be. Because what happens is when you're not really wanting to marry a woman or be with a woman, she's not going to stay with you forever. So you end up not having a lot of long-term relationships. Maybe your relationships last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, because after 3 or 4 years, a woman realizes he ain't gonna never marry me. And so she moves on. The relationship breaks up. She puts too much pressure on him. So depending on the woman that either gives that cat daddy a lot of time, she sticks with them for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. When she finally wakes up is when the relationship falls apart. So then he goes on and he gets another woman. And another woman, and another woman, and it keeps going and going and going. And the next thing you know, at 50 years old, he's a cat daddy. And then when he waits another 10 years, then he's going to be a sugar daddy because he still wants younger women, and now he got to pay for those women. And that's what I say, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm not saying that Chaz don't have to be the cat daddy or the sugar daddy. He can get off the wrong road. He can get off the wrong road, but he can't tell me what I haven't seen over the years ain't true. I've seen it. Does it mean it's going to happen to him? No, he can do differently. But like I said, this is my opinion. This is my video channel. This is what I talk about, what I've seen, and I've seen a lot of it. It happens a lot. So when he says it's a double standard with Vanessa, no, I don't count it as a double standard because Vanessa has gotten married, it sounds like twice. Vanessa has had children. So Vanessa running around, her motives for running around and trying to find a new mate looks completely different from Chaz. Okay, it's not the same thing. I'm not calling Chaz a cat daddy because he's exploring his options with other women. That's not the basis of me calling him a cat daddy. My basis for calling him a cat daddy and a soon-to-be sugar daddy is because he's never made a decision. He's never pulled the trigger. So it's not apples to apples. Vanessa has pulled the trigger. She has done it. She has jumped into the pond. She's tried it. It may didn't work out the way she wanted to, but she did it. She took the risk. She did it. And what I'm saying is Chaz hasn't pulled the trigger. Even if he says he was engaged. Well, you ain't pulled the trigger. Engaged ain't married. Engaged is not an I do. That's why I tell women, be very careful giving all your years, 4 years with men who don't want to get married or who you don't see a future with, or men who are dragging their feet on getting married. You know, and that's what I'm saying. So what's my advice to a person like Chaz who's too afraid to pick a woman? Because they're so afraid of making the wrong decision. They're afraid of what damage might come out of the relationship, whether it's damage to their heart or whether it's damage to their pocketbooks. There's lots of things out here to protect your pocketbooks. They're prenups. There's lots of things you can do to protect your pocketbook if you're that scared, but it doesn't mean that you don't try to move forward with that. Because I'm telling you, it ain't a good look. It ain't a good look, Chaz. I know several of them. It's not a good look when you get around 65 years and you're the old man living alone with no one to live out your older years with. It's not a good look. Women typically have built communities of people. Women typically have a family around them. They have sometimes their children around them. Women have learned the business of cultivating big networks, but one of the things men don't necessarily do is cultivate those same big networks. So a woman, even if she's older and is not married, she typically can still have lots of people around her. She can have her children around her. She can have grandkids around her. She can have other family members and girlfriends that she has cultivated these relationships. But men, I'm going to tell you, Chaz, a lot of men, they don't invest in those relationships because what they've done through all these cat daddy years and these years, they've invested in their careers. They've invested in making money. And then when they get into their 60s, their money is not there to take care of them. Not financially, I'm talking about emotionally. That means now they're alone. They're sitting in these beautiful houses with no one there, no woman around, no one there, no children, no nothing, because they didn't focus on that. They had a lot of short-term relationships. So now when they get older and they have a little money, now what they have to do is go out and buy themselves some company. And then they don't trust the women because then they say, is this woman only with me for my money? And they still don't want to marry her then. That's what I'm saying. Chaz, you get into the real danger point. I'm telling you, you get into the danger point. You 47, you need to pull the trigger. Ain't no woman gonna be perfect. She's not gonna have everything you need, but you need to pull the trigger before you're 50 years old. Because once you go over that 50, and I'm telling you, you're gonna be in the cat daddy and eventually in the sugar daddy lane. It ain't a good look. It ain't a good look. Women fare way better than men as they get older. Women outlive men typically, especially in the Black community in terms of age. Women have lots of other things surrounding them. You know, women tend to take better care of their health in terms of going to seek medical attention. Lots of men rely upon women to do those types of things. Look at Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels is a perfect example, y'all, of what I'm talking about. I think he did have a daughter though, but Kevin Samuels is a perfect example. And the way that he passed, okay, the way that he passed away is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. There could be no better example of what I'm talking about, the way it looks as you get older. And I think Kevin Samuels, when he passed away, he had to have been, I think, maybe in his mid-50s. And he often talked about how as he started getting more money and making it, getting more wealthier, he was worried about women who only wanted him for his money. And then eventually he started to realize that that money that he had was going to buy him access to those younger women who were 32 years old, 33 years old, in their 30s. He had to use his money to get access to those women. And then in the end, how did he pass away? Didn't he pass away from a heart attack with a woman? If he was probably with a wife, he probably would have been in the doctor a long time ago. I'm sure he had warnings of that doggone heart attack. I'm sure Kevin Samuels had warnings of that heart attack. And if he were married, his wife would have said, we need to go to the doctor. You having chest pains? You need to go to the doctor. But if you're just dating somebody and you just effing for the night, shoot, they just think you out of breath because they don't see you every day. They don't see no changes in you. They don't know because you two haven't invested in each other. Chaz, you better start investing in a woman and that woman invest in you, because you're going to need each other when you get older. You're going to need somebody that you can trust. And now is the time to establish that trust in a relationship right now while you're in your 40s. Don't wait too long. Don't wait too long. Me calling you a cat daddy on the way to being a sugar daddy, I'm doing it to wake you up. Women always say I talk to the women, I don't talk to the men. Well, here I am talking to the men, talking to Chaz. But that's it, y'all. That's all I really got to talk about today. Not much, a short little conversation. But hopefully you guys put a lot of stuff into the chat and a lot more commentary on what I was talking about. Some, what Dominique was talking about, what Chaz was talking about. And maybe they'll listen. Maybe they'll listen a little bit what we saying, y'all, and maybe it'll help somebody. Because we ain't out here really just out here to tear people down. I want to see everybody win. I want to see people win. But that's it, y'all. I will talk to y'all later. Okay, bye.